Know who is Ferdowsi? Ferdowsi, called as Abul Qasim Ferdowsi Tusi, he is a Persian, lived in 1940 to 1019. He also called Ferdowsi or Ferdowsi. He was a Persian poet and an author of Shahnameh, called the Book of Kings, which is one of the world's longest epic poems, not just in Persian but all around the world, and was created by a single poet and the greatest epic of Persian-speaking countries. Ferdowsi is celebrated as one of the most influential figures of Persian literature and one of the greatest in its history of literature. Ferdowsi was born into a family of Iranian landowners called Deccans. In 1940, in the village of Pa, near the city of Tus, in the Khorasan region of the Samanid Empire, which is located in the present-day Razavi Khorasan province of northeastern Iran. Little is known about Ferdowsi's early life. The poet had a wife who was probably literate and came from the same Deccan class. He had a son who died at the age of 37 and was mourned by the poet in an elegy which he inserted into the Shahnameh. So Ferdowsi belonged to the class of Deccans. So these Deccans, they were land-owning Iranian aristocrats who had flourished under the Sasanian dynasty. So it is the last pre-Islamic dynasty to rule in Iran, and whose power, though diminished, had survived into the Islamic era, which followed the Islamic conquest of the 7th century. So the Deccans were attached to the pre-Islamic literary heritage as their status was associated with it. So much so that Deccan is sometimes used as a synonym for Iranian in the Shahnameh of the Book of Kings. So thus, they saw it as their task to preserve the pre-Islamic culture traditions, including tales of legendary kings. So next is the background of Ferdowsi as a person, as an author. So the Islamic conquest of the 7th century brought gradual linguistic and cultural changes to the Iranian plateau. By the late 19th century, as the power of the Caliphate had weakened, several local dynasties emerged in Greater Iran. So Ferdowsi grew up in Tos, a city under the control of one of these dynasties, the Samanids, so who claimed descent from the Sassanid general whose story Ferdowsi recounts in one of the later sections of the Shahnameh. So the Samanid bureaucracy used the new Persian language, which had been used to bring Islam to the eastern regions of Iranian world, and supplanted local languages and commissioned translations of Pahlavi texts into New Persian. So Abu Mansur Muhammad, a Deccan and governor of Tus, had ordered his minister Abu Mansur Mamari to invite several local scholars to compile a prose Shahnameh, or the Book of Kings. So this Shahnameh, which was completed in 1010, although it no longer survives, Ferdowsi used it as one of the sources of his epic. Samanid rulers were patrons of such important Persian poets as Surdaki and Dagiki and Ferdowsi followed in the footsteps of these writers. Next is Ferdowsi's life as a poet. It is possible that Ferdowsi wrote some early poems which have not survived. Next is Ferdowsi's life as a poet. It is possible that Ferdowsi wrote some early poems which have not survived. He began work on the Shahnameh around 977, intending it as a continuation of the work of his fellow poet Dagiki, who have been assassinated by his slave. Like Dagiki, Ferdowsi employed the prose Shahnameh of Abd al-Razak as a source, so he received generous patronage from the Samanid Prince Mansur and completed the first version of the Shahnameh in 1994. So when the Turkic Ghaznavids overthrew the Sanamids in the late 990s, Ferdowsi continued to work in the poem, rewriting sections to praise the Ghaznavid Sultan Mahmud. Mahmud's attitude to Ferdowsi and how well he rewarded the poet are matters which have long been subject to dispute and have formed the basis of legends about the poet and his patron. The Turkic Mahmud may have been less interested in tales from Iranian history than the Samanids. The later sections of the Shahnameh have passages which reveal Ferdowsi's fluctuating moods. In some, he complains about old age, poverty, illness, and the death of his son. In others, he appears happier. Ferdowsi finally completed in his epic on 8 March 1010. Virtually nothing is known with any certainty about the last decade of his life. According to legend, Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni offered Ferdowsi a gold a gold piece for every couplet of the Shahnameh he wrote. So the poet agreed to receive the money as a lump sum when he had completed the epic. He planned to use it to rebuild the dikes in his native Tus. After 30 years of work, Ferdowsi finished his masterpiece. The Sultan prepared to give him 6,000 gold pieces, one for every couplet as agreed. However, the courtier whom Mahmud had entrusted with the money despised Ferdowsi, regarding him as a heretic, and he replaced the gold coins with silver. Ferdowsi was in bathhouse when he received the reward. So finding it was silver and not gold, he gave the money away to the bathkeeper, a refreshment seller, and a slave who had carried the coins, which the courtier told the Sultan about Ferdowsi's behavior. He was furious and threatened to execute him. So Ferdowsi fled to Khorasan, having first written a satire on Mahmud and spent most remainder of his life in exile. So Mahmud eventually learned the truth about the courtier's deception and had him either banished or executed. So by this time, the aged Ferdowsi had returned to Tus. The Sultan sent him a new gift of 60,000 gold pieces, but just as the caravan bearing the money entered the gate of Tus, a funeral procession exited the gates on opposite side. The poet had died from a heart attack. So Ferdowsi's Shahnameh is the most popular and influential national epic in Iran and other Persian-speaking nation, but not just in Persian-speaking nations, but all around the world. It's because it is the longest epic. The Shahnameh is the only surviving work by Ferdowsi regarded as indisputably genuine. He may have written poems earlier in his life, but they no longer exist, such as a narrative poem called Yusuf or Zuleika, or Joseph and Zuleika, was once attributed to him, but scholarly consensus now rejects the idea it as his. There has also been speculation about the satire Ferdowsi allegedly wrote about Mahmud of Ghazni after the Sultan failed to reward him sufficiently. Nizami Arozi, Ferdowsi's early biographer, claimed that all but 6 lines had been destroyed by a well-wisher who had paid Ferdowsi 1,000 dirhams for the poem. Introduction to some manuscripts of the Shahnameh included verses purporting to be the satire. Some scholars have viewed them as fabricated. Others are more inclined to believe in their authenticity. So Ferdowsi is one of the undisputed giants of Persian literature. So after Ferdowsi's Shahnameh, a number of other works similar in nature surfaced over the centuries within the cultural sphere of the Persian language. Without exception, all such works were based in the style and method in Ferdowsi's Shahnameh, but one of them could quite achieve the same degree of fame and popularity as Ferdowsi's masterpiece. Ferdowsi has a unique place in Persian history because of the strides he made in reviving and regenerating the Persian language and cultural traditions. His works are cited as a crucial component in the persistence of the Persian language. So as those works allowed much of the tongue to remain confided and intact in the respect of Ferdowsi figures in his impact on Persian culture and language. So many modern Iranians see him as the father of the modern Persian language is because of his works, more importantly the Shahnameh. Ferdowsi, in fact, was a motivation behind many future Persian figures. One notable figure was Reza Shah Pahlavi, who established the Academy of Persian Language and Literature. In order to attempt to remove Arabic and French words from Persian language, replacing them with suitable Persian alternative. So they set up a ceremony in Mashnad celebrating 1,000 years of Persian literature since the time of Ferdowsi, titled Ferdowsi'S Millennial Celebration, inviting notable European as well as Iranian scholars. So Ferdowsi University of Mashhad is a university established in 1949 that also takes its name from Ferdowsi. The Persian regard Ferdowsi as the greatest of their poets for nearly 1,000 years. They have continued to read and to listen to recitation from his masterwork, the Shahnameh, in which the Persian's national epic found its final and enduring form. Though written about 1,000 years ago, this work is intelligible to the average modern Iranian as the King James Version of the Bible is to a modern English speaker. So the language, based as the poem, is on a Dari original, is pure Persian with only the slightest admixture of Arabic. So that's the end of the story of Ferdowsi, the life of Ferdowsi as a poet. And thank you for listening. God bless us all.